Welcome to another CBJ podcast. I'm the host today, Scott Rennick, and I'm excited to sit down with Theresa Morris today. She is the co-founder and executive director of the American Scholastic Climbing League, which is started about 20 years ago, operates in 12 states, and we're going to go into the origin story, what it's all about, what the kids get out of it, and maybe how you can be a part of it if you're interested. So stay tuned. Before we get started, though, there's a couple messages from our sponsors. Without their support, we would not be able to have these podcasts. Rooney. Out of Norway, Rooney makes chalk and apparel for climbers, inspired by YouTuber Magnus Mippo. Learn more at rungne.com. Waltopia. Outdoor climbing walls create visibility and expand programming. Waltopia designs outdoor walls specifically for commercial facilities. Learn more at waltopia.com. Cascade Specialty. Since 1999, Cascade Specialty has installed and refurbished top quality flooring for both roped and bouldering areas. Learn more at cascadespecialty.com. Climbing Wall Association. CWA offers industry certifications, standards, events, and community connection, helping gyms stay informed and operate with clarity. Learn more at cwapro.org. Kilter. Designers of holds, macros, and the Kilter board, Kilter also provides adjustable walls and custom flooring. Learn more at settercloset.com. Welcome, Theresa, to another CBJ podcast. It's nice to have you today.
Scott, thanks for having me. This is a real treat and quite an honor to be on the podcast. So thank you.
The honor's all mine because, you are someone who have given back to the sport. I think we at CBJ, and I think a lot of our listeners, folks like you have a special place in our heart when you've literally given like years of service to, whether it's the sport and competitions and what we're going to talk about with your organization, or whether you're out in the crags and fixing trails or something, like you're one of the stewards of our sport. And so it's an honor. The honor's mine. I've known you for a minute. And you're the executive director now of the American Scholastic Climbing League.
Right.
But it hasn't always been that.
Right.
And you were one of the original founders, like a co-founder.
I am one of the original people. Yes.
Yeah. So most of this is going to be down that path, and we're going to talk about what that organization is like and a lot of aspects of it. And also just, a quick framing. Our listeners are people that work at climbing gyms and work in the brands, and, maybe some other folks, because they'll hear you and see that you're on it. Maybe some of your followers will jump in, but I'd love to kind of frame most of this discussion in what it's like to be in the industry and dealing with comps and hosting events. But before we get into all that, you have a storied kind of career that led you to this. You're an educator, retired from Cherry Creek School District. You gave it to 30 years. Is that right?
I did. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you find climbing? How did your background and career bring you into this building an organization for kids?
Yeah, great question. I don't know how far you want to go back. The super Cliff Note version is I grew up here in Colorado. My family did all the Colorado things. And so my uncle took us, my cousins and I, up and climbed, the Flatirons out of Boulder when we were littles. And knowing what I know now, I am shocked we have all survived without injury, because I think he was just kind of winging it and bringing us all along with him. So I started climbing the Flatirons and then grew up essentially climbing outdoors. At the time, to date myself, there weren't any indoor climbing gyms around. So you climbed outside. And then I went to college, became an educator, and started teaching outdoor education, adventure education right from the get-go. So, kind of got in with people who were doing very progressive physical education in the state. They were doing team building, challenge course type education, kind of, if you imagine, outward bound, but in a high school. So very much affective education skills where you were working on EQ, but using the backcountry to do that. And so out of that, I was brought on to Cherry Creek High School to run their scuba and kayaking program to start. And then I started assisting with the rock climbing program. I was teaching at a middle school in the district at the time, and I would go over to the high school and do that. And as we progressed, I eventually transferred to the high school full time. And my entire career there, 20 years there, was teaching outdoor education to kids. So we had curricular classes, and then we went into the backcountry and did all the things that you do in the Colorado, Utah area. So I slowly moved away from the water into things and more into the rock end of things, rock and ice climbing, and taking kids outdoor climbing all the time. Then eventually indoor gyms were being built. And we just had no idea what to do with them at the time. We didn't know how to use them. We didn't know, not just for myself too, as an athlete, like, what do I do in this gym that has rubber all over the floor? You know, we didn't know. But I eventually ended up going to Europe on a summer vacation and was backpacking and came across a gym that was running a competition. And one of the gym members just pulled me in and said, "Hey, American, you look like you can climb. Come do this competition." So sure, why not? And that was my introduction to climbing competitions right there. And it was a blast. I ended up staying in that town. It was Amsterdam. I ended up staying there a lot longer than I thought because I just got hooked in with this group at the climbing gym. And I learned a lot from the Europeans. You know, they were working through things and problem solving, and, you know, they're kind of doing the red point format, and the vibe was so fun. Everyone was cheering each other on. And I just thought to myself, this is it. This is what kids need. And I brought that back in the fall and then started offering competitions in the Denver area. And I started with 3 kids and myself. And the classic gym of Colorado, Rockin' and Jammin', said, sure, let's do it. And we started small. And then I just started hosting a spring event and a fall event. And as the industry goes, you start hearing of other teachers doing the same thing. And so out of that, essentially started the Colorado High School Climbing League. And it was just a group of teachers and one gym owner, Laura Grashon down in City Rock. She was willing to host quite a few comps, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. And Rockin' and Jammin' was willing to host. And so the teaching staff that I met, we were doing this all on top of our regular teaching jobs. And we just started this league, and we wanted it to look like your traditional high school sport, where kids have a regular season, just like they would in track or wrestling or gymnastics, where you are getting a score every competition and you're getting ranked. That ranking would then lead you to some kind of regional event. So we just called it a regional championship. And then out of that became a state final. And we ran that Colorado High School Climbing League for about 10 years. All of us were volunteers. These were all just on top of our regular teaching jobs. And we started to network with the local gyms all throughout Colorado. They were very gracious, very on board. I think they were looking for something to do with their youth climbers as well. And we were providing the structure and the supervision. And when we hit about 500 climbers in 2018, we thought, we better get serious about this. I think we have something here. that we can, kind of make a little more formalized. And so in 2018, we became the nonprofit, the ASCL. And that was a really good choice for multiple reasons. One, the nitty gritty was to provide insurance for all the volunteers that were working with us, which we did not have, and insurance for all the kids, the athletes, right? Because this was just I call it a garage operation that we were just trying to pull together. And a lot of the people that were the original people came out of the ABS, your scenario. So they had a little handle with that. And then some came out of, was it JCCS? Was that what it was called at the time? Yeah, JCCA. So we had some of those. So we were kind of all just combining all of our knowledge and experience into this Scholastic Climbing League. And once we got the nonprofit going, we were able to really formalize our rules. We found a chemistry, physics teacher who was really good with technology, Chuck Lutz. He brought us up to speed and created a website for us and a scoring program that kids could use. And so now, we're at the point where people from out of Colorado are looking at our platform and then wanting to use our platform because I think they're seeing the value in what we're trying to offer for kids. And I really think they appreciate that it's coming from educators as well. We are climbers, but we're also educators. And so we know kind of the absolute benefits that kids get from being in a sport and representing their school and feeling like other athletes that are going to they're being recognized on the school announcements. They're part of the athletic, pep assemblies, and they want to represent their school at the same time, enjoy the sport of climbing. So that's kind of my background. Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
That's a whole lot of the story there. Wow. You mentioned ABS, and I'll just, for the listeners that don't know, I actually also ran a compass series 25 years ago that I grew. It was bouldering, and it kind of started similar. So we won't go down that rabbit hole, but the origin story sounded a lot similar. It's like, I was just doing something for our people, our kids, our community. And then folks from outside kind of like, hey, what are you doing over there? Could we be a part of it? And it just starts to grow because it's a good thing. And it's something filling a need. So 2018 was the moment that you formalized. I think it's really interesting that you brought up the insurance. I didn't know that was one of the big reasons, but certainly in our industry, we know that's one of the hangups with a lot of, for private route setters, for private coaches, for, series events, trying to get insurance. So that's quite interesting that was a big part of it. Where do you get the money to pay for the insurance? Because I know the fees that come through are mostly paid to the gym, or the gym collects an entrance fee for the event. There's probably a registration, for each kid, but I bet that doesn't cover the bills. Do you? Yeah.
So since 2018, we've charged $100 to be a member of the ASCL. And that has been able to cover all the behind the scenes things that need to happen. The insurance is a big one, so that everyone that volunteers for us, like I said, is covered, and all the kids are covered. And then the website development, we have our own website platform and our own system. So that's keeping all that together. And just like any other business, we've had to hire an accountant. We've had to hire an attorney. Every state we're in, we have to register in that state with the Secretary of State to operate. So that $100 is going for all that. And then for every region, I buy plaques for the regional championship, the state championship, the national championship. So it's really just covering, you know, the foundations of the league itself, the infrastructure. And then slowly have just started to been able to pay the people that are in the regions running the comps, serving as our regional directors. They're getting a small stipend now, as well. It's not enough for what they're doing, but we're getting there. And then obviously I pay our IT person who's doing a lot. And then I've been trying to pay myself. But when we first started, I paid our insurance bill. I personally paid it.
Yeah, I bet you weren't charging $100 on year one.
On year one, I think I'm going to have to go back in my memory. I think we charged $25.
That sounds about right.
And then I think the next year we went to 50. And then that third year we went to 100. So we've been at 100 since 2020.
These are great labors of love. This is, and I, going back to your history, I just find it also fascinating that, you are a lifelong climber. This is like in your blood and the outdoors and the benefits of these kinds of activities you just bring. And then as an educator. So, I bet that kind of ties into like the philosophy and the mission and what you're trying to accomplish from the youth perspective. And we'll get more into like nuts and bolts of the events, but, yeah, what would you say the ASCL is like all about for the kids?
So the ASCL, number one, is about connecting kids to the sport of climbing who may have not even thought about doing this as a recreational or athletic activity. And then secondly, connecting them to the climbing community. Because like you said, I'm a lifelong climber. I've been in the community and it's a very positive and supportive group of people. And I really think kids need to be surrounded by those types of people, no matter what their age, and to find their peer group that is equally as supportive. And, more as we get more and more into technology, kids are becoming more and more isolated. And climbing, it lets kids be social and meet other kids and interact. They're surrounded by other people in the gym that are very positive. And then they're doing something hands-on. Their phone has to be somewhere else. And they have to interact with people and they need to physically move. And you get all those benefits of just social skills and fitness. And those two things go a long way to make a kid happy and successful. So I think for us, sure, we're a competitive league and we do offer prizes, podium, and we have a ranking. But at the end of the day, it's the kid against the wall. It's the kid trying to just get better for their sense of their own well-being. We have some kids that are very happy climbing 5'6" to 5'10" and having just a great time. And then we have kids that are very serious about it and they're climbing 13s. It's their sport and they're crushing it. And both kids are getting loud cheers at comps and everyone is just so stoked when someone hits their own personal best. And then of course, when we add in the team aspect, the school, cheering for your school, and having that community at your high school where you can walk through the passing period and you're like, oh, you're on the climbing team. I'll have lunch with you. Let's go to lunch. I think it's so important.
You find that like the kids will hear their name on the announcement if they did well at a comp.
Yeah, I think depending on the school, more schools are a little more open and progressive than others. But if there's a teacher there that's their champion, the teacher will make sure they're on the announcements. The teacher will make sure they're recognized at the assemblies. And that's huge confidence booster for kids. And I think everyone wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And this fits that need.
And we know like climbing appeals to often if he appeals to a set of people that maybe are not into traditional sports, like, you know, the baseballs and the footballs and whatever. And so, gives them a space.
It's very much an alternative kid, but they still want to be an athlete and they still want to have a community at their school that they can have similar conversations with and, you know, spend Friday nights at their local gym or, you know, Saturdays watching the latest climbing movie. That's all a part of you know, being in a high school sport or a middle school sport.
It's like the antidote to screens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we're, high school lettering and climbing is on its way soon? Where do you think we're at? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the school I was at, I did give a letter. It wasn't an athletic letter because it wasn't recognized by CHASA, the Colorado High School Athletic Association. However, I could get it recognized under the arts and as a club. So there's a different avenue. So I was able to give kids a high school letter and I used the standards that were in our high school program. So they got, you know, the whole letter jacket, the pin, everything, the award ceremony, all that. Different schools definitely recognize their climbing teams in different ways. I know that Colorado Academy, they do a great job. They have kids on the banner in the hallway, just like their swim team kids, just like their basketball kids. And, you know, so with the full 5-foot big picture of them as you walk down their athletic hallway. So, yeah, again, different schools do different things. I know that some of the private schools, charter schools, they do give an athletic letter. Some of the public schools cannot, but they can give a club letter. Lots of schools do what you do, the banquet, you know, where the kids get individual awards from the coach and from the team. And it just looks and feels like a regular high school sport. And I do think eventually colleges will start recognizing it and start giving scholarships, just like they would other athletes. I know that Fort Lewis College in Colorado, they have given out some money to climbers to be on their team. I think that's amazing. So kids now have an avenue post high school. They can go to, some of my kids looked for colleges that had climbing teams to participate that way. You know, I was going to say other kids, college is not their path, but they are route setters. And, you know, there are some of the kids that I've worked with are now head route setters at the local gyms here. Some of the kids are general managers at some of the local gyms. Some of the kids have gone on and they have become AMGA guides. So it's provided this great pathway for a post-high school career still in the industry. So they get to pay it forward.
Someone get hooked. That's beautiful. Is there, I'm just curious, this wasn't in my notes. Is there some sort of a Jim DeCraig component to or like messaging that you put out to these kids that they find this competitions and they get on the team and that they want to evolve to climb on rocks too? Is there a connection made through ASCL? I'm just curious.
So I've made some informally, because obviously I'm in the field and I kind of know some of the outdoor guides that are in Colorado. And so when I have parents ask, oh, my kid is really interested, they're going to go outdoor climbing, I say, great, they really need to go with an experienced person. And then I will send them to those people. One of the kids that, well, he's an adult now, but he's kind of the one that has become an outdoor guide and he's trying to make a living off that. So I'm now, you know, bringing him back to some of our events, have a table. Let's talk about Jim DeCraig. I think it's a huge gap in the educational process in our industry, you know, and so our nonprofit is all indoor sport competition climbing. But the Jim DeCrag curriculum, I think, is a huge space that needs to be filled. I think I could do some of that depending on how much I want to take on. I could at least develop a curriculum, but I do like just sending kids to the guides I know. And I know they'll be in good hands.
I agree with that treatment. For any gym that doesn't have a real Jim DeCrag program, just look to your local guide service, and they would, I guarantee they would love to be partners in that process. And we need more of that. Well, I didn't even know I was going to ask about that, but I'm glad that it's on your radar. And for the tireless volunteers of our industry, there's a lot of places that we can press in on in solving that mentorship gap. And the Jim DeCrag is one of those things someone will come along and
so I
press
think
in.
Our state director in Arkansas, Sharon Bennett, she's doing quite a bit down there with Jim DeCrag. So she has, definitely taken the ASCL kids, and she also works with the local crags in Arkansas, and she helps develop them. And she has started doing a Jim DeCrag. And, I think she's just doing amazing things herself in the climbing industry. So filling that gap and making safe outdoor climbers is definitely on my mind. Yeah.
So you mentioned Arkansas and other states. I think it was 2008 was the first season of the Colorado Scholastic Climbing League. 10 years of that, then it became the American Scholastic Climbing League. And that's scaled up. I checked the website before this call. There's 12 states listed. And I know maybe not all of them are really super active, but like, how did that ramp up, and how do you grow that?
So, luckily it's been word of mouth so far. The climbing industry is smaller than you think. And when I have kids that have graduated and moved on and they've gone to college here or there or elsewhere, they're doing a lot of marketing for me. And they're saying, they're working at the local gym while going to college, and they're saying, why aren't you a part of this league? So we've got advertising there. But I think one of the biggest things I've done is attend the CWA summit and have a booth. And I presented 2 years there, I think, early on, like right after COVID. And through that's where I met a lot of people that started to take a look at what we're doing, our platform. And now I think people just, when you pull anything up, we're the only option, besides USAC for youth. The next national thing that comes up is us. I know there are other states doing amazing things with their high school climbing league. I think Wisconsin has a fantastic high school climbing league themselves. But it's literally just been word of mouth, being at the CWA summit, being in the climbing industry and just meeting people at the crag and saying, a lot of people come here to Colorado to climb, and you just kind of start talking, and where are you from? Oh, I'm from Arkansas. Well, hey, here's what we do. And then you have a champion all of a sudden in Arkansas that wants to take it on.
Well, it's a great program and it's needed. And so you've kind of created some gravity. It sounds like that it's self-sustaining, but, and you also mentioned that there's we're paying a stipend to a regional coordinator. So like you need a champion in each region that kind of schedules things, shows up to probably most of the events, helps with scoring, answers questions. I would imagine that's like one of the centerpieces to be able to grow, is that you find someone that is willing to volunteer for that kind of role or be a part of it. Essentially volunteer, even if there's
it's volunteer, ish. They can go out to a good dinner here or there, but it really does take a local champion that sees the need for kids, and then they've recognized what we're doing. And some of them have been teachers. Some have been just in the climbing field. Some work for gyms. And I just bring them on as the regional director. And they go through some of, my training to just get on board with our philosophy and how we do our rules and how we want the comps to run and look and feel and the vibe of the comp, making sure it's very fun and friendly. And then so we kind of set them up, and then it's up to them to connect with their local gyms to then host our events. But we're very self-contained when we go to the comps. So thanks to Chuck, kids score on their phone and it enters into his system and his database. Their score comes out within 10 minutes. When the comp is over, our regional director does the competitors meeting, supervises, kids submit their own scores, kids belay for each other, so they need to learn that skill. Kids witness for each other. We want them to learn integrity and sportsmanship. So we have very limited adult needs beyond just supervision for safety and tips, right? Some help. 'Cause they are kids. So, but we really want the comps to be in the hands of the kids themselves. So we want them to take ownership. It's for them. We're just providing the infrastructure, but the kids take it on, and the team captains take it on. They run their group. They help other people. So I try and offer, I do offer, I don't try, a Spirit of the League award. So it doesn't matter if you're the best climber out there. Are you the best human out there? And that Spirit of the League person is nominated by the coaches in the region. So the coaches are seeing, here's the kids that's teaching someone how to belay. Here's the kid that's, giving some pep talk and organizing. So they may not be the best climber, but they are the best human. And we want to acknowledge that.
A lot of our listeners, have a lot of familiarity with USA Climbing. And I know that you don't really like to juxtapose that very well. So I'll throw a couple differences, what I think in the events out. But what I'd like to do is see if you can kind of explain this vibe. You said it's a casual vibe.
Yeah.
And I think there's really important things that contribute to that. And we'll talk in a minute about how that relates to the hosting. And I think why, gyms should consider hosting this. But, you mentioned the kids witness each other. Mm-hmm. And that's back to the kind of judging concept. So, it's self-judged, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I think I've remembered, like, the entrance fees, try to really keep those low. Yeah. Back to your kind of describing how the kids run the event. What's it like to be a kid showing up for this on the first day, first time they're coming to a comp? What's their experience like for the day?
Yeah. So hopefully, they'll check in with the local gym. We ask the local gym to just charge a day pass price, which the local gym keeps. We don't ask the local gym to reset. We just use the routes that are there. That helps keep the cost down. But when a kid comes in, they'll check in. Our regional director will, give a competitors meeting, 15, 20 minutes. And then the kids have a block of time to climb however many routes that they want to climb. So if it's a bouldering comp, we're looking at trying to get 30 boulders set up for them, 30 boulder problems. If it's a gym that can do both bouldering and ropes, then we'll have 20 boulder routes set up. We'll have 20 roped routes set up. And then what we do is we'll score your top 5. So if it's a boulder comp only, your top 5 boulder problems are scored. If it's a mixed comp, we'll score your top 2 boulders, your top 2 roped, and then your 5th can be from either discipline, whatever higher. So what we're looking for is for kids to try something they may not normally try, because there's not going to be a penalty if you fall. You just don't get the flash bonus. Right? So I can try, something harder than I might normally did. And if I get it, great. I get to knock off a lower route. And so really what kids are submitting is the best thing they did that day, whatever that meant. And, another kid, doesn't matter what school they're from, watches them climb and then verifies that climb. So it's that, kids now have to interact with someone else. They have to ask someone to watch them, which is really hard for some kids to just ask them to watch. And then to have another kid sit there and commit time to watching someone else kind of gets them out of the mode of, I'm just in it for me. No, you actually need to be a part of this whole thing. So kids are just climbing everywhere. It's organized chaos is what it is, because we just have kids climbing everywhere, and they essentially start to figure out the numbers that they should be looking at to get their best possible score. And at the end of the comp, kids get on their phone, they get into their account, they submit their top 5 into Chuck's scoring program, and results come up, and we get a individual score for the girls, individual score for the boys, and then team score for boys and girls.
Will there be a little award ceremony at the end, or a recognition ceremony of some sort?
A recognition ceremony mostly, because just like any high school sport, if you were to go to a soccer game and win the game, there's no trophy at the end of that game. That's just a part of your regular season. So depending on the region, some regional directors will recognize the top podium finishers and the top teams, and then we move on to the next. So they're not formally recognized with a plaque until that regional final, state final, national final.
It sounds like lots of the schools have a kind of a developed program, but I imagine there's also schools that are not. It's not, maybe they're not supportive, but they're just not. They don't have a lot of kids, or they don't have a faculty member. Do you have to represent a school?
So you will sign up under the school you're enrolled at. And that's kind of the part where I can be under a educational nonprofit status. So they will climb for their school, even if the school doesn't recognize their climbing program. And that's the important part. That's where the insurance I get covers the kids if something happens. So that's kind of up to the regional director to know in their area, okay, this high school does support climbing. They have a coach that's employed by the high school. They're bringing their team. They're on the school bus. They have team uniforms. This group is set. Okay, this high school over here, they don't recognize climbing at all. So this group of kids, they're kind of on their own. So the regional director kind of, checks in with them and acts as their coach and tries to help them out as best as possible. But here's where the kids come into play, because I always suggest that kids have a captain or two, just like any other sport would. And then the regional director can connect with the team captains. And that team captain takes on that peer leadership role for their little group. So now we're talking about another level of responsibility from a high school kid. Yeah. And I actually have 2 high school kids that are regional directors.
They graduated and
no,
moved on.
They're currently in high school.
As high schoolers, there are regional directors. Wow.
Yeah. So Lucy in the Puget Sound area of Washington, she reached out to me last year, and she's a high school junior, and she said, I really want to do this. How can I do this? And mentored her through, and she runs the Puget Sound region.
As
And
a junior in
as
high school, is reaching out to the gyms to schedule the event.
Yep.
Wow.
And coming on this year, I have Andrew in North Carolina who's going to do the same thing. And he is also a high school junior. So they're actually employed by me, and they're taking on this leadership role. And, their parents are involved, of course, and they're helping, they're assisting, but the ownership and the onus, the responsibility is really on those two kids.
Theresa, this is something amazing that you've helped build and nurture. I've been aware of it, so we'll talk about hosting in a second, because that's how I met you originally. But wow, in just this conversation, I'm learning a lot, and I'm blown away because so much, climbing is local, climbing is personal. And it sounds like you're just nurturing that with these kids, and then this responsibility piece, then that's a beautiful model. If you can find high school kids for a couple of years, can be that regional director, and maybe pass the baton off to the next one. I mean, that could be self-sustaining, and it's a youth program by youth for youth. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
good work.
Thank you. I think kids they're little geniuses, and they're just chomping at the bit to be empowered.
I used to work with the Spot Bouldering Gym here in Colorado, and I remember, I think we started, maybe we did this in Boulder, but I think it started when we opened our new Denver location, and you reached out, and I was running marketing at the time, so I just heard about this thing, and they're like, wait, we're going to host a comp, and we don't need any marketing. And I'm like, cool. And I was busy, so I didn't pay that much attention, but I showed up, and I looked, because I have a history in comps. And a couple of things that kind of blew me away, that you've already said, that there's not like a host fee, and there's no money changing hands on that side. You just let the gyms charge their day pass. And the front desk manager at the time told me that was and I was like, that's really interesting. And then he's like, oh, we also don't have to do any route setting. Right. They'll just come in. And I think in our case, I think we helped pick the routes, but you literally, and I bet there's some gyms that won't do that. They're kind of stuffy, and they're like, I got a set for a comp. But you allow them, so if they don't do anything, you show up the day before or the morning of, and just pick the 25 routes and make that the scorecard, so to speak. Is that right? Yeah,
that's exactly right. The regional director will just come 1 or 2 days ahead. We have placards, and we obviously want to use the, knowledge of the route setter at the gym itself. The route setters know, oh, this is a great route. This is really fun. Kids really like this. And we just provide the gym and the regional director a sequence of route grades that we're looking for. And so we just give them, this is route 1 up to 20. And some of the gyms, they want to put the placards up themselves, which is great. Sometimes the regional director will walk through with a route setter and kind of talk through. And, so one, we want a really fantastic partnership with the local gyms, because we want the kids to become members of their local gym. We want that long-term relationship, and we want little impact on the gym itself. We don't ask the gym to close down. We'll come in when it's, their downtime. So a Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, when it's a calmer, maybe in their gym. Like you said, the gym keeps the day pass price. We're essentially using their facility. So, they're hosting. We want them to keep the money. That's, I think, a great business model. They don't need to reset. If they want to, that's great, but we don't ask them to. We kind of want the home gym advantage, right? Because kids go, oh, this is my home gym. I know this. And then the kids are proud, just like they would be of, this is my home field. I know every little divot in this soccer field.
It sounds like you'd almost rather than just let not set, because then they have this effect, this feel.
Yeah. And then kids are like really stoked to have other kids come to their gym, you know, and, yeah. So then at the end of the day, kind of the long-term effect of that for the hosting gyms, they get a lot of money in that little bulk of time for very limited work on their part. They will get kids that become members of their gym that didn't even know the gym was 1 mile away from their school, you know, and then the higher end kids that are more competitive, they'll come back on Sunday and go, oh, I didn't get Route 17, but I really want it. So they'll come back the next day and they'll work the problem. So the gym gets another day pass out of that. There are, you know, other gyms have really taken this on and they've done Friday night teen nights. They've done ASCL nights. Hey, if you're in the ASCL, come in on Thursday, the 22nd, get a discount. Climb with us. We're going to provide some coaching from the gym staff, you know, because the local gyms really want to do something with all the kids that are in their gyms. They're there already.
Yeah, you mentioned membership, but they also have after school youth programs and, you know, really more competitive teams on the gym level. So I would imagine that this ends up being a little bit of a feeder for each gym on a little level, on a small level. You know, they kind of pick up customers from this.
Yeah, they pick up customers and they also get to a lot of the local gyms, at least here in Colorado, they have youth teams, A, B, C, or D, or however they recognize them, but only the A squad competes in USAC. And the rest are practicing and they're doing all these things, but they don't compete. So this is a way for all those kids to compete and get that competition feel. And then, you know, if they're deciding, oh, I just want to stay on the social or recreational side of things, I'm just going to do that with the ASCL. If they really are like, climbing is it, this is my world, they can go into the USAC comps and, you know, it kind of feeds USAC. I think of it like at my high school, swimming, it was very huge. And we had Olympic swimmers compete on our high school swim team. So we have Olympic swimmers on that caliber at our high school, and they are competing at the Pan Am Games and the Olympics as well. So I see climbing kind of doing that in a way where middle school and high school programs are starting to have teams, and, you know, then they can move forward into that elite global stage level of climbing.
I was just talking to a gym manager today, and there's a really big division between the rec youth programs and the competitive youth programs. And it really feels like the ASCL is like a bridge and kind of good for both. So we're, yeah, if someone wants to, we talked about regional directors, like there needs to be a region. But if there's not a region yet, maybe you can get one started if you have some level of commitment. What do you look for to start a new region? Because if there is a region that's already, you know, on your website, they can just reach out to the regional director and get on the schedule. The events are what? November to February is when you host them, right?
Yeah, so we follow the high school winter sports season. And that just goes back to what you said earlier. Most high school kids are not ball and paddle people. So winter is basketball. That's the high school season, is mostly basketball and wrestling. So we follow that winter season because we found that works best for the teaching staff and for the kids, because kids will run cross country or track fall, spring. But yeah, if someone is interested, then they just reach out to me via the website, and then I just have a meeting with them, and I kind of talk our philosophy and our vibe and what we're looking for. And, I'm kind of vetting that person a little bit as we talk, for sure, to make sure that we're on the same page and you're going to be this great advocate for kids. And then we just start going from there. It's still very much a grassroots garage operation at the end of the day, because it's about doing really good things for kids.
And if you're a gym that wants to do it, it's pretty easy. Like if there's alignment with philosophy and values and vibe, then, talk to you, get on the schedule.
Yeah.
Host a bunch of kids during a down period that we always had Saturday morning, which was dead in the gyms. We would have Saturday morning. It was just this no-brainer. It's like, okay, great. We're going to have 30 to 50 kids playing the day pass during a time when we might have 4 people in the whole gym. Perfect.
Exactly.
And then we'd spend a little bit of time with the route setter, going, a couple hours at the most, syncing up with you, and then host this great activity for the community.
Yeah, we try and be as turnkey as possible for the hosting gym. For sure. But yeah, I think for us, it's, are you going to kind of follow our vibe, of just, this is climbing for kids. We're helping their social skills, their self-awareness, their all the EQ things, empathy, sports, integrity. And at the same time, hopefully you get a gym member out of this who becomes lifelong gym member if they stay in the area. But yeah, it's only kind of when we get to the regional, state, and national final when we ask a little bit of the gym to reset, because then we want the kids to have a fair shot, across the board. But then they charge more money because we want they're working for that. So, but even then, we don't ask them to shut down only the Colorado State Final just because we have so many kids.
How many people were at the Colorado State Final? It was out in Eagle, right?
So the state final was at G1.
The Nationals was out at Eagle.
And then the National was at Eagle. And Larry Moore is the owner of Eagle Climbing and Fitness. He's been around since the start. He was a part of JCCA, ABS. He's been around forever. So he's willing to shut down his gym for that whole weekend. We do a dinner on Friday night for those kids with the local barbecue place. We have guest speakers come in, talk about mountaineering, climbing, whatever. We run the comp all day Saturday. Sunday, we do an open comp. So anyone who didn't qualify for the actual national, hey, come climb the national routes. See how you do against the best. And we have the coaches. Let's have a coaches competition. Let's see how your coaches do. So it's just a really fun weekend. And we'll probably do it at Eagle again this next year. And then I think we'll have our feet firmly grounded in that weekend. And then we'll start to host different places.
That's awesome.
And hopefully someday, out of Colorado as other states grow.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened is you just had a couple in Colorado and they multiplied, and now you have multiple regions in Colorado. And so, it seems like you're pretty well set up to expand organically. If anybody's listening and they want to have this, if there's not a region, and if you commit to doing the back end work of scoring it and scheduling it, and then you could have a region. How many events do you need to make a region at the minimum? Would you want?
Yeah, that's a great question. I thought of that and then I forgot about it when we started talking. So we're really asking each region to hold 3 regular season comps between that November to January, early February stage, and then have a regional final. If there's more than one region in your state, then after that regional final, we'll have a state final. And then that would then qualify you for the national final. if you're the only region, like right now, Cincinnati, Ohio, they're the only region. We have a system where they have their regular season, their regional final, and out of that, they're ranked for the national final. So those kids can still come to the national final because eventually they will have another region.
And even if they don't qualify for the national piece, they can show up. It sounded like a rec level. They can
they can come on
They
Sunday
can still show up and get on the same routes and be part of the festivities, even if they didn't qualify for nationals.
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
That's wonderful.
So, we have regions kind of doing that minimum of 3 regular season and 1. So if you think about it from a gym's perspective, if there's 1 gym involved, that's 4 comps in 5 months. November, December, January. 4 months, 1 comp a month. Some of the regions here in Colorado that are bigger, we're hosting between 6 and 9 comps per region. And that's just a benefit because kids are busy. So if they miss a comp, they're not losing out on qualifying for the regional final. If you do the 3 regular season comps, you're qualified for the regional final. So everyone gets a culminating event and that experience, And then kind of the big dogs start getting to the state final. Yeah. And they're amazing. Yeah. They're mind blowing what they can do. So well beyond what I can do at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, these kids.
It's really cool to watch them.
The 516, future 516 climbers coming through. Yeah. Get to see them.
Yeah, I think so.
So this is just amazing program that you built, Theresa. Last thing I'll just our audience is the industry. I'm sure there's a couple brands that will sit through this and listen to what you're all about. Are you accepting sponsorships these days? What are you looking for in a sponsor? Because it seems like this is a great program to support. If you really want to support youth and you want to support community, I think it seems like this is a good place to put a couple marketing dollars if you're a brand. What would you want from that, or how does that work?
Yeah, thanks for that plug. I definitely would like sponsorship. I do write grants. I know some of the other regional state directors, they've written grants. It all goes back to the kids. We have some deals going with Edelrid right now, but it's very low key deals. So yeah, any kind of sponsorship from anyone who wants to give low income kids harnesses, climbing shoes, belay device. Those are kind of the big things that, some of our kids need. I know a couple years ago, we gave $60,000 out via a grant to underserved kids in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we were able to give them 4 months of membership at their local gym, their own harness, their own shoes, their own chalk bag. And that got kids that would never for 1 minute walk into a climbing gym a part of the ASCL. And now some of them have moving on to be help coach and everything else like that. So yeah, we're always looking for sponsorship and donations, just to get kids climbing in our industry.
All right. Well, we will have links to that in the show notes. And of course, yeah, you accept donations. So, and you're a 501c3, so it's to tax deductible donations. So if you've listened to this and you're inspired, whether you can host a comp or you want to bring your school, or you can get behind it with a couple bucks. And what you've been doing for these kids for 20 years, just about 20 years and 30 years as a teacher. I just applaud you. I think a lot of people are in industry. I started this saying a lot of people in industry really do value the people that, give their time to our community and our spaces and our crags and our people. And you're one of them. So I'm so glad that you made time for this call. And honestly, I hope there's someone listening, reach out, check it out, reach out, host an event, sponsor an event, throw her $100. Everything is helpful, and you can hear it's for this great cause, our youth, our kids. Nothing better in this space almost.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get some new regions or sponsorship or, new gyms that come on board. That'd be great.
Yeah. It's a low lift. All right. Well, Theresa, thanks for your time today.
Okay, Scott, thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Theresa. She gave us the backstory and the nitty-gritty about how the American Scholastic Climbing League operates and how it benefits the kids, and how you can get involved and be a part of it. So there's links down in the show notes. Check it out. If you liked this, make sure you're subscribing. We're posting these to YouTube and Spotify. Of course, they're on climbingbusinessjournal.com. You can find us in all the socials, Climbing Business Journal at Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn. And, we post new episodes about every 2 weeks. We alternate route setting content and then more gym manager, other staff focused. And, hope to see you next time. Thanks for being with us.